Buenos dias, viewers of videos. It is I, Darth Cobain 17 again, and as I said, with the pool closed yesterday and everything like that, I'm going to be up to a lot more stuff in the near future. So let's dive right into it. So the first thing me and my son watched, he'd already seen it with my parents, but I hadn't seen it yet, and the latest Thor movie, Thor Ragnarok, which totally was like a shift in the whole Thor universe. From the first two movies were kind of more serious, and Thor was kind of, but in this one he just he becomes like a funny guy, right? Like anyways, the film starts off with him kind of locked up in this cage, in this hellish kind of environment where this demon named Surtur interrogates him and says Ragnarok is coming, it's the end of Asgard and all the nine realms as we know it. And Thor is just toying with him. He breaks free of his captivity and slays the demon and takes this helm that the demon was wearing that he said, once united with the eternal flame that burns in Odin's castle, would bring about Ragnarok. So Thor thinks he's licked the problem. He gets back to Asgard at the last minute before some weird dragon beast can eat him, and only to find Loki posing as his father Odin, or their father Odin, I guess, and Asgard kind of just being all lazy and weird under Loki's kind of leadership, and the real Odin is missing, so eventually, after some figuring out, some help from Doctor Strange and whatnot, Thor finds out that Odin is actually on Earth in Norway. And so he takes Loki to go see Odin, bring him back, but Odin is on his last legs, dies, and warns that their sister, who has been in captivity for a long time, Hela, who is the god of war, has broken loose, and Ragnarok is indeed coming, and she's the one that's going to bring it about. So she gets loose, she attacks Thor and Loki right then and there. They barely escape, using the Bifrost to go back up to Asgard, but she chases them and kind of throws them both off course. And we don't know where Loki goes, but Thor goes to this weird planet full of it's like scrap and junk and stuff like that, where this kind of bounty hunter girl captures Thor and takes him to this guy called the Grand Master, who is played by Jeff Goldblum, and who is awesome, as Jeff Goldblum always is. So anyways, he's on this planet, and he's got this thing in his neck that electrocutes him if he tries to do anything, and the Grandmaster says the only way off our planet is if you beat our champion in the ring, in the arena. So Thor's like, okay, and he goes and does it, and lo and behold, the champion is the Hulk, who we learn after he escaped on the Quinjet at the end of, I think, the original Avengers, whatever it was, or the second Avengers, I don't remember. He took off in the Quinjet, and he's been stuck on this planet ever since, posing as this champion. And he's also been stuck in Hulk mode for all those years. Bruce Banner hasn't made an appearance since. So Thor beats him, but the Grandmaster reneges on his promise to let him go. So then Thor has to find a way to rig an escape plan, to get off of this world, and he uses the Hulk's help and also the bounty hunter that brought him in. He learns is actually an Asgardian and a powerful Valkyrie who's kind of turned her back on the whole thing, and he convinces her eventually with Ragnarok coming and his sister being loose, and so the three of them, come up with this escape plan to try and get back. But in the meantime, Hela has been wreaking havoc on Asgard, summoning a demon army along with this giant werecat thing that she rides, and so it looks like the end of the world is indeed on its way. So Thor and Loki and the Valkyrie and the Hulk all race back to Asgard, and then it's just one big to end the movie. So super funny movie, awesome acting, of course. Hemsworth is an awesome Thor, and with the addition of Jeff Goldblum, for his kind of limited role, but he definitely makes it count. So great movie, super funny. The next one was another superhero movie, and this one I've been trying to watch forever, and it is super grim. It's the last of the Hugh Jackman Wolverine movies, and yeah, it's super violent, super grim, super depressing, and gritty. It's in the year 2029. and Wolverine is struggling physically. He's not healing as rapidly as he normally does. His adamantium skeleton is at long last finally like poisoning him, and he's kind of on his last legs, it looks like. And there's very few mutants left in the world. They've all been killed off, and there's no new mutants being born. So he's the last of his kind, and he's working as a limo driver in El Paso, and his home base is this kind of abandoned plant somewhere out in the desert, where he lives with another mutant named Caliban, who can track other mutants, as well as Professor X, Charles Xavier, who is they're kind of caring for him because he's suffering from dementia, and if he has an attack, it could be catastrophic because of his psychic powers and all that stuff. It can just it can kill lots of people, right? So they're kind of eking out this existence. And then one day, Logan gets approached by this kind of mercenary type guy. His name is Pierce, I think. Wanting to know if Logan had been approached by a woman named Gabriella, and he actually had, but he's not letting on. And then this Pierce guy wants to know if and when and what happens when this does happen. So Wolverine, though, or Logan, he turns this girl away. He doesn't want anything to do with her until she offers him a ton of money just to drive her and her daughter to North Dakota. So eventually he kind of says, okay, and then he goes to pick them up and finds Gabriella already dead, and the young girl, Laura, had escaped. It was Pierce that killed her. She had kind of escaped and stowed away in Wolverine's limo while he was checking the scene out, and goes back to the hideout with them. So eventually Wolverine learns, after watching a video that Gabriella had left on her phone, that she's not actually this girl Laura's mom. She was a nurse at a research facility owned by a company called Transigen, who created mutants from scratch. And Laura was one of these kids, and they wanted to create mutants and weaponize them and control them. But the kids just turned out to be uncontrollable, and when they got too powerful and stuff, they were all set to be put down. So then nurses like Gabriella kind of organized an escape because they didn't want to see all these kids die just for no reason. So then very few of them made it out. Laura was one of them, and Laura was actually created based on Wolverine's Weapon X formula. So in essence, she's actually Wolverine's kind of daughter. So then he kind of softens and takes her under his wing. And then it's just kind of a race to get her to this place in North Dakota, which is supposed to be some sort of Eden for mutant kids or whatever, right? So then, but they've got this Pierce guy and all of his goons chasing them, and as well as their secret weapon called X-24. So it all culminates in this massive, dirty battle in the wilderness where all these kids have to kind of confront, along with Logan, Pierce and all of his goons. So very filthy, depressing, awesome kind of movie. A good way to end the whole Wolverine saga with Hugh Jackman, because Wolverine was always kind of one of those, you knew his life was tough, and it wasn't going to end well in the end. And it was just kind of a fitting way to tie that whole thing up. Now, once Marvel has Fantastic Four, X-Men, all that stuff back under their belt, I'm sure we're going to get some sort of a reboot. So I can't wait to see what happens then. But in the meantime, this was a nice kind of finale for the current X-Men series. The last thing was NASCAR Heat 2 for the PS4. I just recently finished playing this. I did... It's a really good game in terms of how it looks and how it plays and controls. There's nothing wrong with it at all. It looks awesome, and it's super fun. And the only thing that's lacking from it is maybe you couldn't really fiddle with your car's settings. You earned money and stuff, and you earned race points, but you couldn't really spend them anywhere, unless it's all online stuff that you can spend it on. But there was nowhere in single-player mode to spend any of this stuff, and there's no unlockable stuff, no additional paint schemes. So it was kind of more of a bare bones kind of game, but a good one. And so what I did is I played the championship mode and won the 3 different circuits: the truck, the Xfinity, and the Monster. And then I also did a career where you just sign contracts and do the whole thing up all as one continuous thing. And then there was also a challenge mode where you get put in like actual historic NASCAR situations and you have to win or come back or whatever. So yeah, I'd give it like an 8 out of 10 sort of thing. It would have easy been a 10 if they had added more stuff. But other than that, that's the only complaint. Oh, and the fact that the crashes aren't really... The crashes leave a lot to be desired. I remember in old NASCAR games I have for like my GameCube and stuff like that, you know, you could cause the big one and there'd be cars flipping in the air, rolling and smashing. In these ones you just kind of slide around and play bumper cars, you know. There's no real big crashes, which is always one of the most fun parts of playing a NASCAR game, right? So that also would have been nice if they'd added it in there. But definitely a good game. I wouldn't buy it for full price. I would definitely wait until it's cheaper, which I think it is now, because I think NASCAR Heat 3 just recently came out. But definitely worth a play if you can get it for a good price, and a fun game for sure. So that's all for now, but I will be back probably very shortly.